Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're actually not going to delete the default cube. Instead, just tab into edit mode and hit M and merge at center. So now we just have a singular vertex. If we go into front view, you can just move it around and see, but we're just going to move it down on the Z axis, so G and Z, something like that. And I'm going to be kind of basing my tree off of a tree that is shown in the render at the beginning of this video, so you can do that if you want, or you can also just make your own tree. But here's what I'm going to do. So what I'm doing is I'm just extruding different branches out, and kind of just making this tree shape. Tab out element, you can see it's just wireframe, and it doesn't have any geometry at the moment. But the thing that we're going to do is use a skin modifier soon, and that's going to make it a lot easier for us to make quick changes to this tree, as opposed to using just modeling this geometry by hand. So what we're going to do next is, in the places that are going to have leaves on them, and by the way, leaves are just going to be solidified circles pretty much, I'm going to make a fork, kind of, just like 3 smaller edges or vertices. And these are going to make the connection between the tree and the leaves a lot smoother. So just do that for all the ends of these branches. And once we are done, we are going to add our skin modifier. So tab out of edit mode and add skin modifier, and then a subdivision surface modifier. Viewport 2, render 3, and then check smooth shading. Tap back into edit mode, hit A, and then Control A, and that'll change the vertex radiuses, and just bring it down to something small like this. And we can hit Alt Z to see what we have. So I'm going to hit double tap A, deselect everything, and then I'm going to hit C and just select all our little forks. Right click to finish that up, and then Control A to make those even smaller. I'm thinking that most of these prongs are a little bit too small, so I'm just going to extend most of them. Okay. If you hit Alt Z, you can make sure there's no hidden artifacts. Sometimes you get them with the skin modifier. And just make sure that they're all looking good. Okay. Last thing I'm going to do is select this bottom vertex here and just use Control A to make it bigger, because it is the trunk of the tree after all. And then we can make some of these other ones a little bit smaller. By the way, I'm just clicking in the approximate location. If that's hard for you, you can just hit Alt Z and then you can see the vertices better. Okay, tab out edit mode, and we have a tree. I'm not going to worry about any rotation or anything for now, because it's going to be a pretty straight on view of the tree. And so let's just get started on the leaves. So add in a circle, tab into edit mode, fill it, and then we're going to rotate it on the x-axis 90 degrees. Okay, now add a solidify modifier and set the offset to 0, so that when we make it thicker, it kind of extrudes from that origin. I'm going to set mine to 0.15, and then we're going to add in a bevel modifier, set the angle limit in 5 segments, and then turn down the offset the smallest bit, like that. And then just right click, shade smooth. Okay, I'm going to scale this down, and we can start adding Shift D to duplicate and just add a leaf for every branch. Okay, now most of these need to be bigger. So let's just select all these, and to make the leaves look a little more interesting, we're going to search for randomize transform. And then let's open it over here and check scale even. And then we're just going to select this top scale, drag down, and then we can just bring this up like that. And then we have different randomized scales. First thing I'm going to do is just move some of these around. I think this smaller one should probably go down low to the ground. Maybe I'll actually scale it up a little bit as well. And you can just keep making some of these edits as we go. And once we have that done, you can just select all of these leaves and just GY so that the branches can be seen in front of them. And then once you have that done, if you need to make any changes to the leaves or anything, now is a great time to do that as well. Okay, now that we're done with that, we're going to do some shading. So going to the shading workspace. It might take a second, and for the first thing we're going to do is just select our tree trunk, and we're going to change this material name to just trunk, and we can change the base color to like a orangish, something like that. And then for the leaves, we are going to actually start with the glass material that we made in the last tutorial. Link will be in the description for that. So let's just append that in. So file, append, and then go to where you have it located. Mine's in this blend file, material, and then select that glass material. Okay, now I'll just select any of these leaves. I'll select this one, and then choose from our list the glass material. Now let's just select all the other leaves, and then select this one last, and then Control L. Link materials, and that will just make all of those have the same material. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is make sure that not all of these have the same color, because that's kind of boring. And to deal with that, we're going to add in an object info, and this object info has this node called, or this output called random, and that's what we're going to look at. So if we Control Shift click until we're looking at this bottom one, you can see that each object has a slightly different shade of gray, and that's going to allow us to create different colors. And the way we're going to do that is using a color ramp. So let's put a color ramp, just drop that in there. And then we can change this black, make it a little bit brighter, and then turn that to a kind of a darker green. And then this white, we're going to make it a lighter green. Something like that will do great. Okay, now you can see we have these different shades of green, making it look a little more realistic. Of course, we're not really going for a realistic effect, but it looks good. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is add in a diffuse, and we're going to plug that color from the color ramp into here. And if we Control Shift click onto that, you can see we have our different colors and it's shaded. But of course, we also need to use this glass shader, and what I want to do is make it so some of these circles are glass, colored glass, and some of them are just diffuse BSDF. So to do that, we're going to take this random output, and we're going to feed it through a math node that's going to take in the random, and it's going to be a greater than, so you can see that it makes the ones closer to white, white, and it makes the ones closer to black, just completely black. Okay, now what we're going to do is duplicate this mix shader, plug the other mix shader and the diffuse BSDF into there, and then we can plug the greater than into that mix. And then if we Control Shift click onto that, you can see that we have some that are diffuse BSDF and others that are glass. The last step is to just take this color ramp and plug that into the color on the glossy BSDF. And there we go, we have our colored glass, we have our diffuse BSDF, and we have a nice looking tree. It's going to look a little different in our final result because we aren't going to have this HDRI that you're seeing being reflected here. And it's going to look a little more natural. But that tutorial will be coming soon, and I hope you stay around and watch us wrap up the final scene. Thanks for watching.